Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a little more details about making decisions as we are on this journey to combat food insecurity here and abroad because we have no limitations in the work that we do. We are social work without walls. That is the impact that we choose to have to increase the capacity for our folks to have access, education, and the support they need on the journey to solving our problems, right? So, we're talking about a very important tool or concepts that we must understand. Now, you may be a homeowner, you may not be a homeowner. You may be considering growing food in your backyard. You may be considering, you may be a homesteader. You may be someone who's looking for a larger farm. Whatever that is for you, we are on the journey to have some clarity in that will help us to make decisions going forward. So, welcome, welcome, and welcome. There are some very important attributes that we must consider when we are thinking about land. Land is the host of our soil. Our soil is where our food grows. And so when we are talking about whether that's your backyard, urban homesteading, rural farming, or whatever that is for you, the soil is important. And soil is land, it's on the land, right? And so we're going to be discussing the concepts of agribusiness as it relates to solving our problems. And so we're talking about the three very important attributes of land. We know that land is everything under the soil and above the soil that was not added by man, okay? So that's critical to know right out the gate. So, why is it important that we understand the attributes of land? Because it involves our strategic planning for location. It involves a long term investment and land stewardship. It also involves site specific agricultural planning. And so these attributes are very, very critical to our decision making. Number one is immobility, which has everything to do with our strategic planning for a location. We cannot move the land. It is in its geographic location and it determines its climate, the soil fertility, and accessibility to any other markets, water, sources, and or transportation, which we know that these are very, very important things that we must know when we're thinking about buying land for homesteading, even if it's just your home, right? When I was looking for a home, these were all factors that were very, very important to me. I wanted a corner. I needed some land. I needed a big backyard. I needed some place to grow food. I needed one level. I needed a ranch style. I had very, very specific details about the land and home that I needed to carry out my my desires for generations, not just my children, but my children's children. So in mobility also, farmers and homesteaders must choose this land wisely. As I said, I had a list of things. So it helps you to choose that land wisely based on factors like also your rainfall, you know, growing seasons. What's that like for you? And access to resources for long term agricultural success, right? If you are buying raw land, then of course you're not going to have infrastructure. You're going to have to put in systems and things to get moving, right? So there's some details I'm going to share with you later on down the road that you should be considering when you're thinking about should I buy it with the land, just the land, or should I just buy it, with the house on it? I bought it with the home on it, infrastructure was in place, and that was the win, okay? Your zoning laws affect your immobility affects your zoning laws, land regulations, and community restrictions. Also impact what can be grown or built on the land. Think about it. HOAs. Many people who have what you call they call them HOAs. I believe it's housing. Uh, wait a minute, what is it? Housing. I don't I remember what the initials stand for, but I know it poses limitations. It imposes limitations, which I never wanted to be in an HOA because I don't want any limits, right? But even in the city, you still have limits. Like I have chickens, but I'm only can have, so many of those. You can have so many livestock, right? The second attribute is indestructibility. Has everything to do with your long-term investment and land stewardship. This land itself is indestructible, but its quality can degrade due to poor farming practices like overgrazing we talked about in my last video. Your where animals are overgrazing the land and taking more from the soil than we're putting into the soil. Deforestation, where they're cutting down all the trees. Your forest floors matter when you talk about growing and farming and things of that nature. Farming practices like making, crazy agreements with the government that allow them to sludge your land, which ultimately led to so many people having, or not people, but farmers having PFAB grounds and having to close their farms or no longer being able to produce milk that their cows drank or ate from the land. So it caused infestation of PFAS. Understanding this helps agricultural landowners to focus on sustainable land management. How do you do that? Soil conservation. How do you conserve your soil, right? Regenerative farming techniques to maintain productivity for future generations. One of the things that I did, and am practicing is the forest floor. How do I create an environment in my or on my urban homestead that allows me to use less water for my land to maintain water, to uh, to deal with drought situations when they occur. We know that climate effects is having a deleterious effect on our ability to grow. So put farming techniques, regenerative farming techniques that help you to maintain productivity for future generations. And of course, land remains an asset. It will always remain an asset. So stop selling it, right? It serves as a long term investment, offering stability in wealth building and food security. We have land right now that could be used by someone to grow food. Perhaps we could put plots over there for people in the neighborhood to have a place where they could grow food. So these are all things you could be thinking about if, in fact, you have land that could be used. Number three is uniqueness, right? Uniqueness means simply this: every land parcel has its own uniqueness. No one parcel, piece of land is the same. It's very site specific. So every piece of land has unique soil composition, drainage, microclimates that are and affecting what crops or livestock can thrive there. I used earlier the theme around what I saw in one of my studies, which was how you can have a huge area with lots of homes and land and water on a lake, but you can have property on one side of it that can meet your needs and another property on the other side that cannot meet your needs. And an example of that is uh, there was a property that this couple wanted, and this property was perfect for their ideals of urban farming. They missed out on the opportunity. So then there was another plot of land that they were offered, but this land had lots of trees. Remember, land is everything under the ground, the trees and the air above, which means that no, this particular piece of land was not necessarily in their favor. Because why? They had an idea about the usage of that land that this parcel could not satisfy. So each parcel is unique, and we must understand that. Every piece of land is specific, is unique with its own composition, soil composition, drainage, microclimates, etc., that affects what you grow and the livestock that can thrive there. This requires tailored land use planning, soil testing, and adaptation. That's one of the things that was very critical to me when my husband and I first bought our home. One of the things that I did was I got the soil sample. Most of us have a cooperative extension in our area. I took the sample of the soil and I had it tested to see what the pH level of that land, of that soil was, and what it was like. What can I plant here, right? That would thrive in this soil. Now, mind you, I got great soil, but I needed to get the pH up a notch, right? So I knew I had to do some things to the soil. So the first year, I didn't add any vegetables to the ground. I literally just I put everything in bags and pots, and I still grew and grew well, but I did not put things into the ground. So I fertilized the ground, I tilled it, I prepared it, and all those things. Because remember that the adaptation also is is definitely not a one size fits all. But even in the land that you purchase, there could be different areas in the land that has different composition, different measurements completely. So you want to take soil from different areas of the land. You may have some that's acidic, some that's not so acidic, and that works well. Why? Because there are certain crops that grow in certain acidic soil, some don't thrive in acidic soil. So these are all decisions and things that you must consider when you're thinking about purchasing land, leasing land, anything that has to do with a thriving agribusiness and your soil. It has to begin with the land. So, again, your top three attributes of land that you must consider is immobility, indestructibility, and uniqueness. For all my homesteaders out there, farmers and or land investors, or my helping professionals who are gone homesteading, farming, and investing, recognizing these attributes ensures better decision making, sustainable land management, and long term profitability. I hope that this information was helpful. Stay tuned with us as we align ourselves in the agri space to solve one of the world's most difficult problems in a survivor's economy, and that is food security. Let's make sure that we are the problem solvers. As researchers, we know, we know where the gaps are, we know what they tell us, the recommendations. We have our own communities. Let us begin to build our communities in a way that is sustainable for us all. I'm Dr. Eve, your community health and human service educator, qualitative researcher, agribusiness owner, investor, and all the beautiful things that God has allowed me to become, giving back to my community the things that I am learning along the way. I'm so glad that you could be here, and I hope that you can catch me on the next video. Until next time, have the most amazing evening. And whatever you do, let no one get in the way on your journey to becoming who God has called you to become. Peace and blessings, everyone.